This is Wrestling with Wrestling's Past and Present. I'm Tim Kurt.
And I'm Roland Pulis.
And today we were originally scheduled to talk about the Elimination Chamber 2010 and 2019. However, based on our success on picking the Royal Rumble results from last week, we figured we're going to go over and review the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, it was very successful. Our picks were pretty much spot on for all but one match each, essentially. So between the two of us, we pretty much nailed everything in the Rumble, with a couple of exceptions. But we figured, why not? It's past and present, where it was last week. But
Still current.
Yeah, it's current enough and we felt really good about it. So why not brag a little bit?
Yeah, why not?
And kind of go over what we liked and what we didn't like, and see what you guys think.
Absolutely.
But we don't worry. We will do the originally scheduled Elimination Chamber next week for you guys. We promise. It will not change.
It will not change. We definitely promise Elimination Chamber for next week. But until then, we're going to toot our own horn a little bit.
Yeah, why not?
For the next few minutes here.
We got together a little while ago and we were discussing the show, and Tim brought it up. And at first I was like, I don't know if we want to do 3 Royal Rumble shows in a row. But then I was like, what? Very seldom do things go as well as they went.
I know.
So we're like, okay, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it up.
Yep, absolutely. And based on our other shows we've done picks, we deserve this one, I think.
We earned this one a little bit. So thanks to WWE Creative for not screwing us over on this one.
Yes, right? All right, so the pre-show had 2 matches on the card. The first one was Sheamus and Shorty G. We both picked Sheamus to win this match, and he did. This match was a little slow for me.
I think they were trying to let Sheamus come in as underestimating Shorty G. Like, I think that was the whole thing on that, the premise of that match. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a terrible match.
No.
But yeah, it was definitely a little slower pace than I thought it was going to be. Shorty G's not a big guy, obviously. His name's Shorty G, so you're not going to stand and trade hands with Sheamus. So I didn't know where they were going to go with it. I mean, they got 12 minutes, almost 13 minutes for a match, so it was a pretty good timed match. But yeah, the pacing was a little bit slow. It picked up as it went on. But yeah, overall, it wasn't a bad match. But I mean, you can't hype Sheamus coming back and just have him beaten right away by Shorty G.
No,
you can't do that.
No. I was a little surprised they actually put this on the pre-show, giving that it was the return of Sheamus. I thought they might save that maybe for the second or third match of the actual Rumble pay-per-view itself. So I thought the placement of this match was a little bit odd.
Yeah, I mean, I could have saw them opening the show with it. Mm-hmm. Anticipating the return from Sheamus, and they've been hyping it, and it could have been a squash match too, like we had said. We were talking about it being a squash match earlier last week. That's what could happen. It could be a minute and a half match where Gable does no offense and then gets his head kicked off.
Yeah.
But they didn't go that route, so maybe that's why they put it on the pre-show. They wanted to give him a little bit of time.
And then next up on the pre-show, we had Andrade defeating Humberto Carrillo. This match was for the United States Championship and went about 14 minutes or so. We both had Andrade winning this one.
Yeah.
I thought that match was actually pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, they're both pretty good performers. I can say that, right now, I'm not very invested in Andrade. I mean, he's a good performer, don't get me wrong. I just, he's very vanilla. And I think that's based on the fact that he doesn't talk. He doesn't really have, and obviously his English-speaking skills aren't as good. Mm-hmm. But I think that's something that's missing. I think that it's not a personal connection. For me anyways. His wrestling's great. I just think it's hard for me, because I'm obviously not a Latino, so I don't have that heritage, that connection that some Latinos do as they push him as a Mexican superstar. It's harder for me to kind of, get into the matches. So
yeah,
it's just, it's hard to get into a type of match where you have no connection with somebody, no matter who it is. Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel the same way. Yeah, there's nothing there that I have to see Andrade.
Yeah, there's nothing overly vested.
Yeah,
where you're like, but like I said, he puts on great matches. Don't get me wrong. And I think if they do this correctly, I mean, he was just recently suspended.
Yes.
For the wellness violation, and they didn't take the title off him.
Yeah.
So clearly, they still have big plans pushed for him, even though he just peed dirty.
Yeah.
So obviously they're gonna have him come back. They wrote him off TV by having Carrillo do the same thing that he did, that Andrade did to him weeks prior. It makes sense. It all ties together. And from what I read, that was a Paul Heyman decision. Heyman made the decision to keep the belt on him. There was talk they were going to take it off him, but they didn't want to give it to Carrillo yet. Then there was talk that they could have Rey Mysterio take it back. But you don't want to flip-flop stuff. So
No.
I think to keep the storyline going, you just say, okay, he's out for 4 weeks. He got injured. You took the spot on the floor, on the concrete, and go, when he comes back, have him come back. And maybe if they do this correctly, there could be enough to get him to WrestleMania, if that's where they're looking. I don't know what they're looking for now, but now that it's been stretched out, it could be actually a really good match at WrestleMania.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think so. I mean, I don't know if that type of match would make the card or if it would be another pre-show match.
Right.
But it also kind of makes you think, too, is maybe he got suspended on just like a technicality. Maybe he didn't do anything that major wrong. Right. Because if that was the case, I think they would have no choice but to take the belt off of him.
Yeah, and I mean, you've heard it goes as far back as like Shawn Michaels back in the day, peeing dirty and refusing to send the belt in.
Yeah.
So like they're just, we'll get another one. And they gave it to Razor, and that's not, for the story now, but I mean, so there's ways to take the belt off somebody versus just injuring them. And, you could have injured him and said he didn't compete in 30 days and took the belt
That's what I was just going to bring up that rule. There's a long-standing rule that you have to compete at least once or defend your title at least once in 30 days. They don't always adhere to that rule.
Oh, look at Brock Lesnar.
Look at Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
Yep. So
he defends it once in 30 months.
Yeah,
so it's pretty bad.
Pretty much.
But anyways.
All right. Then we get to the actual show. The opening match was Roman Reigns defeating King Corbin. This was a Falls Count Anywhere match. Went 21 minutes. This match actually, I'm not a huge fan of Roman Reigns matches, but this one actually was pretty entertaining to me. They used the whole baseball stadium to their advantage. I think they ended up getting the pinfall on the dugout.
Yep, on the top of the dugout.
Top of the dugout there. So I thought that was pretty neat.
There was that insane spot where I believe it was Jimmy Uso came off the back of the top of the TV stands.
Yep.
And the way they filmed it, you didn't even see it coming. All of a sudden, boom! It's like, wow, holy crap! And it was you had to figure that Rude and Ziggler and the Usos were going to get involved sometime at some point. But it was a good match. They didn't factor into the decision. Thankfully,
no.
They let it finish clean. There wasn't any shenanigans because at a certain point, you get tired of schmoz finishes. You need to have. I don't care who wins. Let somebody win. So I'm glad they didn't go that route. I mean, obviously it's a Falls Count Anywhere, so it's no disqualification. But at least it wasn't all three guys pinning one guy, like holding him down. Like it was a clean finish after that little bit of the four guys getting involved. And it was pretty neat to see him go up on the dugout. And it can't feel good to take a spear on a cement dugout.
I wouldn't think so.
Even for Roman, I would imagine, coming down on your knees and stuff. That probably doesn't feel good.
No.
But it looked good. It was really cool.
Yeah, I thought that match was pretty cool. We both had Roman Reigns going over in that match. So we're 3 for 3 so far, both of us.
Here's where stuff went a little sideways.
But not too bad though.
No.
We almost had this
is
right.
where I get to toot my horn a little bit.
Yes. This one was the next match was the 30-woman Royal Rumble match. Now Charlotte Flair won that match, last eliminated Shayna Baszler. Now you predicted Shayna Baszler to win.
Yeah, and I also said that if she wasn't in it, Charlotte would have won it. And then I said I saw it coming down to the two of them.
Yeah.
So all of those were correct.
Except for who won.
Yeah, except for who won. So, but who did you predict?
I had Alexa Bliss, and lucky me, she came out number 1.
And then the first thing I did was send a text to Tim. I was like, it doesn't look good, man.
No.
It does not look good.
And that was my first thought, exactly, as soon as she came out there. Now, when we picked this, we only knew, I think it was about 7.
7, yeah. There were 7 names. So we knew it was going to be a lot of unnamed people, and we were hoping for some names from the past. I mean, the third person out, you had Molly Holly.
Yep. Well, Mighty Molly.
Mighty Molly, yeah, because Molly Holly was in the first one.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is her alter ego. But yeah, it was interesting. They only had 7 people named.
Yeah.
It's very hard to predict anything with only 7 people being named. Period. It was cool to see some of the NXT superstars. Bianca Belair, was an animal in that match. She eliminated 8 people, and she lasted over a half hour.
Yeah. She came out number 2.
Yeah, her and Alexa Bliss started the match, and then at different points, they both were the last ones in the match again, going at it, and then more people came in. So it was pretty neat to see. Alexa Bliss lasted almost 27 minutes, so she had a good showing. She had 3 eliminations. She was eliminated exactly halfway through. She was the 15th elimination, so she made it halfway through the match. Then you see Nikki Cross at 4, Lana at 5, Mercedes Martinez at 6, Liv Morgan at 7, Mandy Rose at 8, Candice LeRae, Mrs. Johnny Gargano at 9. And then Sonya Deville at 10. And it was interesting when they got to they had Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville come out that close together. I was hoping that they were going to stretch it out, and they didn't last long. But the Otis thing,
that was pretty cool, pretty clever save.
Nobody saw Otis at all. All of a sudden, Mandy gets kicked off the apron, and they zoom over, and there's Otis laying on his back as he catches Mandy perfectly. And then he ends up being involved in the elimination of both of them. He actually then catches Mandy later on, and then Sonya gets knocked into both of them, and they both get eliminated. So it was kind of neat. That they're building, obviously, in the storyline with Otis and Mandy, and I mean, I feel bad for Tucker and Sonya. They're the odd people out in this thing. They're kind of doing stuff with them, but I mean, obviously, it's around those two people. So, and then you had Kairi Sane. Obviously, you would thought she would have had to have been in it because Asuka was in a singles match that night. So, then Mia Yim, Dana Brooke, Tamina, and Dakota Kai at 15. Chelsea Green, the eventual winner, Charlotte Flair at 17. Then you had a big return at 18.
Yes, Naomi.
You hadn't seen Naomi in months. Yeah. It's been a while. And of course, she had one of the best saves in a Rumble I've ever seen, but then like the dumbest creative to get her back in the ring. And I know recently on Twitter, she commented on somebody calling her MFer and stupid for not just jumping. But obviously it was written that way. Yeah. So if you don't understand that, so be it. But even I'm sitting there at the TV going, just jump. You're literally 5 feet from the stairs. You just jumped from the ring all the way to the barrier.
I know.
You're now on the table, which is like 5 feet from the steps. But then she takes the top part of the table and ends up using it as a bridge. But that developed so slow. But the save was amazing. She was, maybe 4 inches from the floor with her heels. And she, like, parkour style held on the barrier. That was a cool moment in the match. But it was good to see her come back. I think, like I said, I actually kind of forgot about Naomi.
I did too, to be honest. I didn't even realize she was gone.
Yeah, they just kind of phased her out. It's the same with Nia Jax, really. I thought she was going to come back in this match. I had heard that she might have been. She didn't. But I mean, the same kind. You just don't see them. You don't really think about them.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I don't know if that's good or bad. That might be bad that you don't think of somebody.
I know.
But she obviously has the gimmick for the kids. The kids love the glow gimmick and stuff. So, I mean, she's a very popular women's superstar. So, it was good to see her come back. And then at 19, you had Beth Phoenix.
Yes, Beth Phoenix, who suffered a nasty cut in that
for
match.
those of you that didn't see how she got it, she got busted open the hard way.
Oh, yeah.
She hit the back of her head on that ring post, and the referee knew it right away. He jumped up on the apron. He heard it. You could hear it on the broadcast. She smacked her head hard. And at first, later on in the match, I actually thought it was Charlotte that was busted open. I'm like, wow, Charlotte's got blood on her face. And then I looked at the back of Beth Phoenix's head, and I'm like, oh.
her hair kind of looked like Ric Flair's used to when Ric Flair got busted open and his white hair was all red.
Yeah, it was
her. That's what her hair kind of looked like.
The whole back of her head looked like it was Kane's mask.
My wife and I were watching the Royal Rumble together, and she was all disgusted about it. And I'm like, you would never have survived the Attitude Era.
Boy. I mean, if you didn't have blood pretty much in every match back then, I'm surprised some of these guys still are alive. They didn't bleed out during some of those matches. I mean, you think of like Austin being in the sharpshooter against Bret Hart and passing out, and the blood in that match was insane. But yeah, during the Rumble, I didn't notice how she got busted open. I didn't, you see it the day after, like, hey, here's what happened. It's like, ooh, she took a really bad bump, and she kept going.
Yeah.
So then after that, you had Toni Storm, you had Kelly, which was a surprise entrant. Sarah Logan, who I feel like they're trying to push, but they're also feeding her to Charlotte Flair. So like they're pushing her, but they're like, here, Charlotte, have, so like, and she's probably the odd person out right now in the Riot Squad. I mean, Ruby Riot's hurt. And Liv Morgan has the Lana storyline. No matter how good or bad it is, it is what it is. So like Sarah Logan's kind of the forgotten one. I don't know why they just didn't put her with the Viking Raiders. Yeah, I mean she's married to Eric. Why don't you just have her come out, be their manager / wrestler? It would make sense. Do something with her. But anyway, so it's good to see her back on TV, even though she is getting thumped by Charlotte. She lasted 28 seconds. So then you had Natalya, Xia Li, Zelina Vega. Yep. Then at 26, you had Shotzi Blackheart, Then you had Carmella, who at that point, now we're at number 27. I'm going, wow, Shayna Baszler may not even be in this.
Yeah, right?
Oh, no. So then you have, like I said, Carmella, then Tegan Nox. And then probably the dumbest thing I've ever seen in any Royal Rumble. It was funny, but like dumb funny. Yep. You have Santina, the twin sister. Yep. And I'm doing air quotes for those of you that can't see this. The twin sister of Santino Marella, the Milan Miracle, comes out dressed in drag. Because, you know, it's a girl.
It's a woman's Royal Rumble.
Yeah, and has a neat little spot with Beth and Natalya. Then decides that she's going to then Cobra herself and flop over the top ropes to then eliminate herself. Rumor had it that could have been Melina or Victoria, and that's why they ended up switching to Santina, because they were hoping to get one of those two in, and it didn't happen. So maybe that's what happened. Maybe it was going to be one of those two, and they just couldn't have it, and they had to, but they could have put somebody else in there besides Santina, but...
I actually like that moment, though. It's good to have a little bit of comedic relief occasionally.
I just felt, for me, though, Shayna Baszler hadn't come out yet.
Yeah,
so number 29, I'm like, oh, geez, they just wasted a spot on Santina. And then I'm thinking, okay, maybe Nia Jax is 30, and I'm not right. I'm like, oh, no, this is not going to be good. And it turns out Shayna Baszler comes out with her hair on fire at number 30, eliminating 8 people. It comes down to her and Charlotte, and for some strange reason... I was just wrong. Just wrong.
Just a little bit wrong.
And Charlotte ends up eliminating Shayna Baszler. It makes sense now, knowing what I think they're going to do, because I think they're going to have Charlotte pick Rhea Ripley from NXT to face at WrestleMania. That's the rumor that I hear, and then the more I think about it, the more it makes sense, because then you can just have Becky Lynch still face Shayna Baszler.
Sure.
And then you have Bayley face, which I've heard rumors that's actually going to be Sasha Banks. I don't know if that's going to be true or not. However... But it all makes sense if they do it that way. So it all hinges on what Charlotte does. Yeah. But rumor has it that's what they might do, is have her try to go back to where it all started and capture the NXT title from, or go for the NXT title against Rhea Ripley. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it was a pretty good match overall.
Yeah, pretty good Royal Rumble. A little bit shorter than last year's, which was nice.
Yeah, no, you can't have a match that's that length and be entertained the whole time.
No.
It's such a long show as it is. But yeah, it was a good Rumble.
All right, so next up after that, we have Bayley defeating Lacey Evans for the SmackDown Women's title. This match just went under 9 minutes. I was actually a little bit surprised at the length. I thought they would have given them a little bit more time.
Yeah, and I believe that's actually what I said to you too when we were texting back and forth. I was surprised at how short it was.
Yeah.
And then they had Lacey's kid there, so I'm like, oh, she's gonna win. Like the minute they showed her, I'm like, oh, Lacey's gonna win.
Yep.
I'm gonna get it right, and I didn't.
No, I had Bayley winning this match.
So that was the one I full blown struck out on.
Yep.
Obviously, I didn't get the men's rumble. We'll cover that in a minute. But obviously, I didn't get that one either. But like the only singles match I missed was that one. And like I said, I figured they were building towards it. Sasha wasn't there. She didn't come out in the women's rumble, so I'm like, maybe I'm right. Maybe the divide and conquer thing's gonna happen. They were pushing her hard. They were pushing Lacey Evans forcing almost Roman Reigns-esque pushing. So it's like, oh, it's gotta happen. I mean, maybe, they decided not to, or maybe it was never going to happen, and they swerved me good. I don't know, but kudos to you for getting that one right.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, I felt they weren't, for some reason, just felt like they weren't going to take the belt off Bayley there. And it's almost kind of like when you're in the hometown, people get screwed over in their hometown. It's kind of the same thing with having the kid there and not winning there. So yeah,
it's like 6 and 1, half dozen in the other. Yeah. Do that, like the first time the Miz won with his dad there with Shane, they won, and then the second time it was, so they're literally 50%.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I just misread what they were doing, and you nailed it. So kudos to you on that one.
All right. Well, thank you. Next up, we had the Fiend Bray Wyatt defeating Daniel Bryan for the Universal title in a strap match. This match went about 17 and a half minutes. We both had the Fiend winning this one.
This match was brutal.
Yeah.
For what it was, this match, I mean, we both were kind of a little bit unsure of the whole strap match not having the normal strap match stipulations where you have to touch the corner. We were kind of wondering. But it told a story.
Yeah,
I mean, they were towards the end of the match, Bray Wyatt is literally getting whipped. The Fiend, is literally getting whipped in the chest as hard as Bryan can do it. And he's not even flinching. He's
not selling it at all.
He's not even flinching. And it's like, dude, that hurts. Like, I've never had it happen, but you can hear it. You can't fake that. And then afterwards, you see Daniel Bryan's back, the photos and stuff. And, congratulations to Daniel and Brie
Yep.
They are expecting their second, and so isn't Nikki. Nikki's expecting her first. 2 weeks apart, I guess.
Yeah, I know they're
so
pregnant at the same time.
Congratulations there while we're at it, but yeah, I mean, it was a good match, and it was a brutal match. I mean, it told a great story, and so far, everything with Daniel Bryan and The Fiend has told a great story. But yeah, no, that match was a pretty brutal match.
It was a pretty brutal match. But yeah, good storytelling. If you're looking for some good storytelling, go out of your way to watch that match.
Their whole program's been really good. They're both believable characters, so it makes a story really good.
Absolutely. All right, next up we had the singles match for the Raw Women's title. We had Becky Lynch defeating Asuka by submission. This match went about 16 and a half minutes. We both had Becky Lynch winning this one. Again, I don't think they were going to take the title off of her just quite yet.
No, and like I said last week, I thought for sure she would win, and then it would be her and Baszler at WrestleMania. So in my head, I couldn't see them taking it off her either because Asuka already has a belt.
Yeah.
So, like, it didn't make any sense. I mean, the storyline did because Becky had never beaten Asuka, so that made sense. But giving Asuka a second belt didn't make sense. So I agree that, Becky was going to win that match. I'm actually surprised at how much time that match got versus how little time the Lacey Evans and Bayley match got.
Yeah.
You could have split that up a little bit, maybe taken a couple minutes away from the Becky match and given it to them.
Yeah, you could have, in that way,
Because it was almost double the time.
Almost, yeah. If you take a little bit of time, you can make it almost like 13 minutes apiece kind of type thing.
And that's the other thing too. Like the amount of time they spent pushing Lacey, you would have thought they would have showcased her a little bit more. I mean, like I said, I don't mind that I was wrong. It's just I thought, like you said, the same thing. I thought it was just going to be a longer match.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's still the Becky and Asuka match was still a good match. I was honestly surprised that Becky made her tap out. But that to me, I think ends that storyline. I think that's how they had to do it for that because
writes it off.
If they had done something where it was a roll up or some sort of different finish, then it would have had to keep going. At some point, they have to defend their tag titles against somebody.
Which I think they're probably going to save that for WrestleMania.
Right.
Obviously, they'll probably defend it before then, but
right.
I don't think they were going to elevate Asuka to main event status in the women's division.
No, and really, not to cut you off, and really, this is one of the other things we didn't really say last week too. They went this direction because Kairi Sane got knocked out in the match with Charlotte and Becky versus the Kabuki Warriors. So, like, it was a natural transition. So, it worked out well. But I think they kind of were forced to have to do it. So.
And then our last match was the 30-man Royal Rumble match. It went about an hour long, and I'm going to toot my own horn a little bit here. I had Drew McIntyre winning that match, and he did.
I had Aleister Black. We both kind of went with dark horses. But, I mean, to me, as soon as Tim said Drew McIntyre, it made more sense to me as to what they were going to do. And I didn't want to copy him.
Yeah.
So I picked Aleister Black, who I thought had an outside shot at being the surprise. Because you never know. Sometimes they throw a surprise winner at you. And you're oh, wow, hey, what happened? I mean, McIntyre kind of was, too. But not as much as Aleister Black would have been. So I'm going to actually let Tim kind of do his thing, and I'm going to chime in on this Rumble. Because, like I said, I kind of had the Women's Rumble, almost. I'm going to let Tim take the reins here, and I'll just chime in.
Sure. So first of all, they start off with Brock Lesnar here as the number one entrant, and he's going to do this whole dominating act. He's going to eliminate 13 people. So that's kind of like the story for like the first half of the Rumble. So I thought the storytelling was pretty good here.
Yeah, and it was a typical Kane spot. They say, the big man Kane spot where you come in, kind of like the Bianca Belair and the Shayna Baszler from the women's one.
Yep.
Where you eliminate a bunch of people and look dominant.
Sure.
And Brock Lesnar looks dominant no matter what he does. So,
if you just run down the list here, you have Elias in at number 2. He only lasted a minute. Eric Rowan only lasted 8 seconds. Robert Roode only lasted 41 seconds. John Morrison 9 seconds. So again, you're just seeing the total elimination here by Brock Lesnar. I mean, the first 13 people here are all eliminated by Brock Lesnar. So you have Kofi Kingston in at number 6. He lasted 5 minutes. Rey Mysterio in next. He lasted about 3 minutes. Big E only lasted just under a minute. This one was a little surprising to me. Cesaro lasting only 18 seconds. I thought they might have given him a little bit longer of a run in the Royal Rumble.
It's sad to see them bury Cesaro.
I know
the way that they're doing it.
He's got so much talent.
He is such a good. It's because of his personality. That's the problem. He doesn't get over with the fans, and McMahon doesn't quite get the cyborg kind of personality, and he just thinks there's nothing there. When in reality, he is probably one of the best performers they have.
Absolutely, yeah.
Pure wrestler performers. He may not be a sports entertainer, But wrestling-wise, I don't think anybody, especially like his raw strength for a guy his size, he has to have the most strength for a guy his build.
Probably. Oh, I would
ever
absolutely
maybe.
agree. Yeah.
Some of the stuff he does is insane, and they just keep, you can hang out with Sami Zayn if you want. You know.
Next up, he had Shelton Benjamin. This was kind of cool because they were playing up. Brock kind of hugged Shelton Benjamin. They have the connection there from, I believe, from amateur wrestling days back in Minnesota.
Yep.
But then Brock turns on Shelton, obviously, and eliminates him in about 37 seconds.
No way, Brock Lesnar turned on somebody.
I know, right?
Wow.
Then next up, you had Shinsuke Nakamura. He lasted 20 seconds. MVP, the first surprise entrant of the night, came in, but he only lasted 24 seconds.
Montel Vontavious Porter. Yeah, it was good to see him have what he said was his last match on Raw the following night against Rey Mysterio. They gave him some time. It was a pretty good match, too. It was nice to see him come back. I liked MVP back in the day.
I did, too.
Even when he was heel, even when he wasn't, he was a good character.
Yeah.
So it was nice to see him come back.
Absolutely. So we'll have to see. Hope maybe that, have to see if that was really his last match. Keith Lee was next from NXT. He lasted about 3.5 minutes.
This pissed me off. They had such a chance to have a Keith Lee Brock Lesnar pissing match for like half the Rumble.
Yeah.
You could have very easily had them tit for tat because that was the buildup that Keith Lee's a monster like Brock Lesnar, and they just kind of they just kind of wasted it,
Then you had Braun Strowman next. He only lasted a minute, just under 2 minutes, actually.
Yep.
Again, eliminated by Brock Lesnar. That would be it for the Brock Lesnar eliminations. But the first Braun Strowman entered at number 14. So all those people we just mentioned here were eliminated by Brock Lesnar. Next up, you had Ricochet come up. Then the eventual winner, Drew McIntyre, coming in at 16. And McIntyre would eliminate Brock Lesnar as the 14th entrant with the Claymore kick.
With a little bit of help from Ricochet.
With the low blow from Ricochet helping out.
Ricochet helped set that up, so it didn't make Lesnar look weak.
No.
You got hit in the nuts and then got kicked over the ropes. I think it was a good way to do it. Brock's still a monster.
Yeah.
The following night on Raw, you have him come out and send a message to McIntyre once he says that's who he's going with. So it worked out well to get him out of the Rumble without making him look weak. Absolutely,
yeah. It was a perfect way, I think, to eliminate him. But that was kind of the story of the first half of the Rumble, to just dominate Brock Lesnar.
Much was Bianca Belair and the women's. They kind of have the same kind of layout where you had that one dominant person. And I like that layout. But like I said, they kind of missed it with the Keith Lee thing, I think.
I think so. They could have given it a little bit more time.
Yeah.
So after Drew McIntyre, you had The Miz in at number 17. AJ Styles in at 18. Now, AJ got hurt in the match, and they had to kind of call an audible on his elimination. You could tell that it wasn't exact. Just watching it, you could tell it wasn't what the plan was.
Right. And it was, and you don't really notice it at the time. You see it, and you're like, oh, I took a wicked bump. And then you watch, like, the day after, you watch the replays of it, and you're like, wow, he got messed up good. Like, he fell right on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Rumor has it was just a separated shoulder, though.
Oh, that's good.
They thought it was going to be maybe a torn labrum, which would have put him out. They said it was just separation from what I've heard. So hopefully that's all it is. They said 6 to 8 weeks. They think he'll be back for WrestleMania. Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, absolutely. He had Dolph Ziggler in next at 19, followed by Carl Anderson. Then the biggest surprise of the night and probably the loudest pop of the night, Edge returning to competition at number 21.
The Rated R Superstar.
Rated R Superstar.
He looked good. He looked really good.
He did.
He definitely can still go. And you can tell, he retired 9 years ago. So he retired pretty much right at his prime.
Mm-hmm.
He's 46 now. So, he was 37 then. So he's got 9 years that he didn't put on his body. So, they said, rumor has it that they signed him to a 3-year deal. And that he's supposed to do a minimum of 5 matches a year. That's the rumor I heard on that I've seen in the dirt sheets as to what happened. And obviously the following night, they had the Randy. I don't want to spoil that part of it, but they had the Randy Orton thing in the Rumble a little bit, and then they carried that out the following night. So obviously, it looks like his first match is going to be against Randy at WrestleMania.
Yep, that would be an awesome match.
Yes,
wait if that happens.
That's not to cut you off, but that story on Raw the following night was one of the best things they've done in years.
Yeah,
the way they played that out and let Randy be Randy, and they actually had it run over. They had permission from USA to let it run over. Mm-hmm. They asked for it earlier in the day. They planned this out perfectly.
Absolutely.
I don't know if it's Paul Heyman or whoever made sure that went that way is a friggin' genius. Because that was literally like, holy hell, watching that happen. It was the most emotion I had watching something going, oh. And I know, obviously, we know wrestling's not on the up and up as being, not serious or not, I don't want to say fake, but, obviously it's fabricated, who's going to win, who's going to lose, and all that stuff. That story, you didn't know which way it was going to go, and as soon as he RKO'd him and everything that happened after that was just brilliant.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with you there. Next up, you had King Corbin. Then you had Matt Riddle next. There's a rumor that him and Brock Lesnar got into some sort of altercation before the match, and the rumor is that's why Matt Riddle's time in the Royal Rumble was so short. He only went about 41 seconds. I'm not exactly sure what the confrontation was about, but all I know is I've heard that Brock said he'll never work with Matt Riddle.
Yep. That's what I heard too, yep.
So be interesting to see what...
Because Matt Riddle from the get-go has been trying to get either Goldberg or Lesnar to let him retire them. It's like, why would they... Why? Would they, he's doing it because they're big names, so I get it. He's poking the bear, so to speak, but it doesn't make any sense.
Then you had Luke Gallows come in at number 24. Then you had some pretty big players coming in next. You had Randy Orton coming in at number 25. Edge eliminating him, so that kind of set up the angle for Monday Night Raw. Roman Reigns at number 26. Kevin Owens, Aleister Black, who was Rollins' pick to win.
Yeah, at that point, I'm like, oh, maybe. Like, this might happen. It didn't.
29 was Samoa Joe, and 30 was the Monday Night Messiah, Seth Rollins. And it came down to McIntyre and Roman Reigns, and McIntyre ended up winning, and he's going to be on to WrestleMania.
Yeah, and he already picked Brock Lesnar. Like we said, the following night on Raw, he said he was going after Brock Lesnar, which you could kind of tell that's where they were going anyways.
Yeah.
That match could steal the show at WrestleMania.
I was just about to say that. I'm really looking forward to that match. I don't think it's going to be your typical Brock Lesnar squash match at all.
No.
I think they'll give him some time, and I'm not sure exactly which way I'm going to lean towards yet, but But all I can tell you is that I'm really looking forward to that match.
Yeah, and like I said, kudos to you. You nailed who was going to win it, and it wasn't that they made it predictable, but they also gave you enough to think, hey, that might actually happen.
Yeah.
So, and having Edge come back was super cool. And then like I said, the following night with the Randy Orton thing, and like right now they have a lot going for them from the Royal Rumble. Coming out of the Rumble, they have a lot going for them. Rumor has it that Roman Reigns will be the eventual opponent for the Fiend. I don't know if that's going to come true or not, but that's the rumor there. So, I mean, they've got some good matches coming.
Yeah. They got a lot out of this Royal Rumble, I think. It was
and I mean, the Fiend hasn't, had anything to do with Roman Reigns since he's become the Fiend. So, it would make sense to go that route, but I don't know if they're done with the whole Corbin thing. I mean, I know they had the blow off on SmackDown the other night, yesterday, as we recorded this now on a Saturday. They had the blow off where the Usos made Braun Strowman made Baron Corbin eat dog food. So I hope that's the blow off of that.
Yeah, that storyline's kind of getting on the verge of being a little too long at this point.
Yeah, especially where they came out to start SmackDown and they come right. I've seen enough of it to the point where it's like, okay, let's move on from it, and hopefully that's where they go. I wouldn't mind seeing the Fiend against Roman Reigns.
No, I think that'd be a good match too at WrestleMania. Again, we both are really high on the Fiend character.
Yeah.
So I think a match with Roman kind of makes sense at this point.
Yep. But I do want to say another interesting note, too, is that Hulk Hogan, I don't know if you saw this, but Hulk Hogan tweeted out congratulating Drew McIntyre, and he said that Drew McIntyre is one of the last real heels left in the business.
Oh, really?
In his tweet, and everybody lost their mind on him. They're like, where have you been? He's not a heel anymore. He's a face. I just thought it was funny. And he's like, oh, congratulations, brother. And it's like, you're an idiot. He's not a heel anymore.
Oh, man. All right, well, that's going to wrap up our Royal Rumble wrap-up show. We just wanted to toot our own horn, so thank you for letting us kind of feed our egos a little bit here. A little bit here.
Getting the cheap pop.
Yeah, we'll probably never have to do another one of these episodes again. But we will give you Elimination Chamber next week, 2010 and 2019. And until then, I'm Tim Kurt.
And I'm Roland Fulis.
And this is Wrestling with Wrestling's Past and Present.